Alright guys, we're gonna go through each of the different tribes and find what the way that they're gonna play and what are the big changes for them. Starting with Beast. Biggest thing, Alley Cat's back, so Beast have a token. Um, Other than that, the next big unit that I recognize that has kind of been changed is Gentle Stag. They made it so it's just a lot better of an actual unit. It's now a 4/5 and will give a 2/2 buff whenever you summon. Another new unit here is Valiant Tiger. Tiger, sorry. This is a death rattle. Give your rightmost beast a 4/3 permanently. What's kind of important with it is if you reborn it, it still keeps the taunt, so it gives you like a guaranteed double proc. Going to Tavern Tier 5, two new units that we should be playing around is Sylphid Brewer and Sin Runner Blanchy. Sylphid Brewer, I think, is only going to be relevant if you get it early and you're able to get that Avenge procs multiple times. This would not be probably something that like you want if you roll a bunch and um, like if you don't triple into it or find it early, it's probably not going to be very good. Sin Runner Blanching is going to be very strong if you're able to buff it a lot because every buff you apply on it, it's essentially doubled. I think this is actually going to be kind of like one of the win conditions for Beast is getting a huge um, Sin Runner. The Tavern Tier 6 minions, not a lot of changes. I'm not gonna, I don't, I'll probably cover the all tribes in a like neutrals, but I don't think this T guest is gonna be too relevant in general. But the new win condition for Beast is gonna be this Silky Shimmer Moth. So we talked about Blanche. Blanche is probably gonna be your default if you just don't find anything. Just buff this, and essentially you get two copies. It's kind of like how Lock Prince plays currently. But Silky's Shimmer Moth, sorry, is going to be the new win condition, and this is going to be the minion that you want to play on your far right. What it ends up doing is every time it gains stats, it gives your beetles a 2/2 buff permanently, and then it self summons a beetle. So what you're going to want to do is play a lot of these buff type cards. So we talked about the Valiant Tiger. This would be giving your, assuming you have two of them, it's going to be giving your um, or sorry, if you give it reborn, you're going to be giving it your beetles 4/4 that way. And where this comes in a lot is going to be some of the different trinkets that have been added. I think the biggest ones that you're going to want to be paying attention to is something like Bird Feeder. Lesser Bird Feeder, I think, is being a little bit slept on with this combo of your minions die twice. It gives a 1/1. So let's just say you play a couple of summon minions. A very typical board might be a Mana Saber, might be a Forest Rover, maybe a Stag, Skiller Tiger, and then you have your Shimmer Moth. Let's just say you have six minions that each summon one. So you're getting six procs on your Shimmer Moth that turn. If you have a Titus on board to get your minions a lot more summons, that's going to be playing. So this is going to be kind of our new Beetle top board, and you're going to want to play around this almost probably more than your Rune Progenitor. I think this is kind of just a better version of the Rune Progenitor. They each summon a 2/2, but Avenge 3 versus gaining stats. And what's also relevant is Shimmermoth. If you buy spells that buff your minions, it's going to be pretty relevant. So yeah, let's also just check if there's any neutral minions that we should be kind of playing around with this. So something that you could do is Nala's been moved down to 5. It might even be worth that you just play the Shimmermoth in like a Nala type comp, and you play it as your only beast, and it's upgraded that way, and then you maybe go all in on beast later. Um, you could play it as your beast with the T-Guest, but I think generally using it as like an amalgam type comp isn't going to be quite as strong. But those are just some other synergies that you can kind of think about. Another example would be any of the new minions that give spells. So, for example, the Fire Scale Hoarder gives a Shining Ring. Well, now this is a Death Rattle, give your Beetles 2/2. So something to just kind of think about is with how that can kind of synergize. Especially if you're playing like a Death Rattle comp. Well, now it's giving two shiny rings. So little bit of synergy there. I don't think that's going to be the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing for Beast though is going to be something like Bird Feeder, Beetle Bands as a way to give your beetles a lot more scaling. Specifically, that Bird Feeder. You know, you like in a way the actual buff of 1/1 and 4/4 aren't as important, so in that case the lesser bird feeder might be more relevant because it's able to apply just as many times off of that avenge 2. Beetle Band, the greater trinket, is definitely a lot better because if you think about this ratio, like you're getting 2 beetles for avenge 6 versus 1 beetle for avenge 5, so it might be something like you go lesser bird feeder into greater beetle band, something like that. Obviously there's a lot of new trinkets, so it's going to be hard for you to force combinations like that. Um, but there's any of the new or existing trinkets that you can use to buff a single minion. You just have to remember that a buff to a minion is now a 2/2 buff to your beetles, and if you find ways to repeat that, that's going to be how we turn this into, potentially exponential scaling with the beetles. So that's my prediction for upcoming beast is Silky Shimmermoth is going to be the main big comp that you play, and then Sinrunner Blanchy will probably be a fallback type comp.